Hello. Well, it ended up being a heck of a lot harder than it probably should have been, especially after that second period. I felt like the Golden Knights were in complete control of the game, like dominated them in the first. Yeah, kind of took their foot off the pedal a little bit in the second, but for the most part, you're looking at a game that looked like it was headed their way. And then, they get the one, even that one, not that big a deal. It's the back-to-back penalties that I think really, kind of put them in a bad spot. And I get why Marchessault takes that penalty. It's a trip, and it is what it is. You just don't like to do that far away from the goal. And then, McNabb flings the one over. I do think they were very fortunate that the timing, worked in their favor, that it killed off both penalties instead of the one. I don't know what this game looks like if they have to kill off another one after giving that one up, having already used their timeout. Not exactly a good situation. I think there's a lot of positive to take. To me, you have to love what you saw in that first period. And I couldn't take a ton out of the two Seattle games, why I didn't hop on either of these, afterwards. They're so bad. Golden Knights, I didn't think played great. I don't think they played poorly, but you do the right thing and put yourself in a position, where you can do something that not blowing either of those games. They did that. Then this one, I thought they were going to see a lot better of an effort from Vancouver, and to be able to come out and really just stick it to Vancouver real quickly. I thought that kind of started making me feel like, okay, now we might be heading in the right direction. Now we could be looking at, being able to rattle off 7, 8, 9 in a row here and then put themselves in a position that even with these other teams all winning, they're going to be in a good position. And I understand that it's a win, but there's so much more at play here. We're still talking about a situation where they have to win a bunch of these, and getting just it's a win against Seattle, Vancouver, Chicago, these types of teams don't really give me a ton of faith that they're going to be able to go up to Edmonton, go up to Calgary. But there were pieces of this game that did make me feel that way. I thought the second period, as boring as it was kind of a glimpse of what the Golden Knights have been when they've been at their best, or at least at better than they have been recently, in that they're able to gum up the neutral zone. They don't drop coverage in the defensive zone, and they kind of just wait for this next opportunity to come when it's going to come. And when it does, you got to find a way to bury them. And today they did not do that. The Janmark chance didn't go. There was one other chance. I'm blanking on what it was. They had a good opportunity. Really, when you go back to the two goals, they're both just elite shots that I don't know that we're going to be confident that those are going to come moving forward. But I'm also fairly confident that we're not going to see a draw that's lost directly into their own goal. I'm also not all that, feeling all that bad about how that first period went and having a 4-minute power play that the best opportunity goes the other way. I don't think that's going to be the case moving forward. So most of these, I feel like, okay, it is a step again in the right direction. And yes, it's 5 wins in a row, but they've been fairly unconvincing outside of the Nashville one. This one it fell apart, and it's a game where you're looking at a team in Vancouver that's not really in the playoff picture anymore. I know that you can technically say that they are, but they're really not. They knew they had to win basically every game. That's not going to happen. They're essentially done. And Vegas had them in a position where you can basically just wipe them out, and it did not happen. So that concerns me. Then you really look at the very last second of that game, that probably should be a goal. That's as good a goal scoring chance as we've seen all season long, or all game long in that game. And, Myers blows it. So a break there as well. Overtime, a lot of people talk about how the Golden Knights have no overtime losses. I know they have a few, but if we just had more overtime losses. Well, if the Golden Knights had more overtime losses, they'd have fewer overtime wins. That's the part that bugs me about that. The Golden Knights win in overtime most of the time. I believe they're 8-3 now. If that was what it should be, which is 6-5 or 5-6, they have 2 or 3 fewer points, and the season's probably looking really, really bad right now. So that part of it, I feel good about. That overtime was a complete and utter disaster in both teams. Just an absolute mess. Pietrangelo mentioned in the intermission that the ice was shit. I think that was pretty clear. Nothing was going cleanly in overtime. Just an absolute mess. I don't know. Whatever. Take your point. I feel like the way it happened, it was going to be a goofy one nonetheless. I just don't think I thought it was going to be that. He wipes out on top of the puck and then gets up and finds himself in a 3-on-1. weird. And then the puck hops and Theodore misses on the first attempt, which I think Demko would have saved, and the second one goes through him. So you'll take every bit of it. But again, it's not the convincing win you want to make yourself feel like moving forward you're going to be able to dominate these guys moving forward. They have 2 games coming up against this team, and I think they probably are going to need both of them. Edmonton dominating again tonight. Seattle's up on Dallas. That's a benefit. I don't know that Dallas is going to be one that's going to end up on the wrong side of 100, so I'm not really sure that they're going to matter. I'm starting to kind of turn my view towards I'm still looking at Edmonton because their schedule is still fairly difficult, but now you start looking at Nashville as maybe being the one. You go back to that game that the Golden Knights won, it's a big win against Nashville. That one worked out in a big way. So, all in all, there's so much good for the first 35, 40 almost minutes of this game. And I understand that second period becomes kind of just a back and forth, not a lot going on. But when you're up 2-0 in a road game, in a game you absolutely have to have against a team that probably will go away at some point, you'll take that. And so I felt real good going into that third period. I didn't think there was any way they were going to get 1, let alone 2. And obviously the one, goofy one goes in, and I get to dance on the face-off people when that happens. But, the whole of the game, you have such a dominant start. You get the 2-goal lead. You've got an opportunity to stretch it to 3 or 4 when you got the 5-minute power play. Janmark has an opportunity to stretch it to 3 right away in the beginning of the second. It doesn't happen. That's okay, getting all the way through it. The problem is that third period, they stopped winning puck battles along the wall. They stopped being able to deal with the forecheck that was coming at them. And all of a sudden, we're seeing guys standing directly in the low slot with not being guarded at all. And I'm starting actually to say Martinez is back. McNabb is back. Whitecloud's in there. Petrangelo's getting less time than he was getting. We're starting to see a little bit better of a version of Shea, and I'm not sure I even fully buy that yet. You'll take the goal in overtime, but and I know a lot of people are like, well, once it goes in, it's going to keep going in. We'll see. I didn't really see him having a great game in the regular 60. So that third period is concerning. And I think it's something that, if you're a Vancouver team, understanding that, okay, you did get a point, you technically still have some life. It does rely on beating Vegas both of these games moving forward. The Golden Knights are going to have to just stick it to them early and get them to go home. That's what they have the opportunity to do. They had a chance to do it in the third. They were not able to do it. But take your 2 points, move on past that, and you're in good shape. I do have some concerns of it does certainly look like a 1 or 2 line team. At times, Eichel's line was looking real good, and they didn't, it didn't end up going their way. I thought Marchessault, Amadio, and Carlson looked good for portions, but that bottom 6 just is not there at all. Obviously, they're missing one of these. They're missing, or they're playing with 11 forwards, so that screws that up. But you do basically see it as a 1-line team, whichever one of the 2 is going. And that's hard to kind of lean on a team throughout 60 minutes. And we have to remember that, yes, the Golden Knights are getting points. Yes, they're heading in the right direction. They're doing what they need to do. But these are the easy games. These are the ones that were supposed to go the Golden Knights' way. And if they simply take care of all of the ones that are supposed to go their way, they're going to be right there pushing for somewhere in the ballpark of 95, 96 points. But when we do get to the point of some of these teams that are similar to the Golden Knights, Edmonton, Dallas, maybe even a Washington, when they play those teams, and you're going to need some extra points out of those games to maybe to get yourself to 96, 97, 98, you're going to have to play a lot better than this. And so that's the part that still gives me pause, despite this being a good win in regards to finding a way of getting through it. And it's never easy on the road. The Canucks are decent. The second half of that's just flat out wrong. The Canucks are bad. The Canucks are a bad team. They're not going to make the playoffs. They're not even going to come all that close. They are just bad. It shouldn't be all that difficult to play in that building either. It was half empty. There's basically no atmosphere for 80% of the game until towards the end. And you're playing in a building that the Golden Knights have never lost in, or at least never lost in regulation in. So this is not a hard game to go out and stomp a team. And the Golden Knights are starting to get a little healthier. Yes, I get that. But all in all, I feel like it's a win. It's 2 points. You will take them. You need them. You definitely did not want to drop one. It keeps them on the path of kind of heading in the right direction, but it does not breed the confidence of like, let's get to where they need to get to. Let's get to a point where they are going to be able to rip off wins against some of these better teams. Because I think now that we're looking at what's happening around the league, it's starting to look like it might be 8 teams getting to 98, 99. Like, I think most of the teams at the top, like Colorado's already there. Colorado's getting to 100. Colorado's already at 100. Calgary's getting to 100. Minnesota's getting to 100. St. Louis is probably getting to 100. LA's starting to look like they might get to 100. That's 5. I think the Stars are going to get damn close to 100, if not get there themselves. That's 6. You're basically banking on 1 or 2 teams, and the way Edmonton's been playing, they might be pushing 100. That's 7. So there is some concern that it is going to take more than the 95, 96 that we were looking at a little while ago. And that, I think you need more than scraping by in overtime. Games in Seattle, I'll take that. Those get ahead early, just skate the game out. Don't ever give them any sort of life and bang in the empty netters when you need them. Perfectly fine with that. Those games were horribly boring. I was at them both. They were terrible. Like, fine. This game, the first period, that's what you want out of the Golden Knights. If they can put that together more often, and it doesn't have to be 3 periods of that every single night. Like, that's unrealistic. But to be able to put together that and then back it up with 10 minutes of that in the second, or 15, down the stretch in the third, or whatever, you need to get somewhere in the ballpark of 30 to 40 minutes of good hockey instead of 10 of great, 15 of pretty good, 10 of decent to average, and then 20 of hanging on and getting nervous and blowing it. So luckily they don't blow that game, because what does this look like if they give up that wide open chance right at the end that most NHL scorers hit? Like, Tyler Myers is not a scorer. He doesn't hit that. So if anybody has questions, go ahead and pop it in there. I like how you're just naming all their good players as if that matters. The team is complete crap. Like, look at their schedule, look at their stand, look where they are at in the standings. Watch the game they just played. Watch them any of the time through. Look at what they were before they got the bump from getting a new coach. The team's bad. Like, you can have good teams, you can have good players and still be a bad team. Like, a lot of these teams have very good players and suck. The Golden Knights had good players for a while. They sucked. Vancouver is bad. They're like, anybody who misses the playoffs is bad. Like, that's about as simple as it. Speaking of bad, the own goal was pretty bad. I don't necessarily know what anybody's supposed to do on that. You win the draw back. I get that. It's a reach, which is fine. I don't mind the reach and trying to move the puck away from the center of the ice from Martinez. And then how is Leonard supposed to know that thing's going to go through? I don't know. Go ahead and put some questions in there. I'll take some questions and then we can get out of here. I don't have a ton of time tonight, but I'll also tell you that this Periscope and all Periscopes this season, and hopefully there are a bunch more moving forward, are brought to you by Conler & Associates CPAs. It's April now, which means your taxes are due fairly soon. And so you could use Conler & Associates to help you out. Call them up. Go to conlercpa.com. That's Conler with a K, Kondler CPA.com. Tell them SinBin sent you. They'll hook you up with a free consultation, and they will help you do any of the any tax troubles that you have. They will help you out on. Let's see. Would I have started 96 or 30 tonight? I thought they needed to get Leonard back in there. I think their best bet still remains Leonard. I think Logan's been good, but I also think Logan's been good on the back of shit teams. Like, Logan didn't really do anything in either game against Seattle. Like, don't get me wrong, take your wins. I'm loving the fact that he's out there doing what he's doing, but those are games that most goalies are going to get what Logan got out of there. The Chicago game, I don't think he was bad. I thought he actually made a number of good saves, but they also give up 4 in that game. The Nashville game, I thought Nashville was nowhere to be found, so that one really gives more to the skaters. So I think if they are going to get guys that are going to steal games, it's more likely to be Leonard. And then I'm still a little concerned just about the simple volatility of the fact that we haven't seen enough of Logan Thompson to know whether you can lean on him in every single one of these games down the stretch against some of the better teams that they're going to have to play on the schedule. That doesn't mean I wouldn't use Logan at all. I would. I might even use him in the next game. If you got back-to-backs, you certainly want to use him. So I think there's a place for Thompson to get back in there. I think he's doing a great job. I'm not concerned when he's in there, which I was a little bit towards the beginning, and I had been a little bit during that time where they were losing all the games with Brossoit and Thompson switching off. I feel a little bit better about it. But I do think if they're going to get there and get some games where they are basically outplayed and they are going to find a way to win, I think it's more likely that Leonard does that than Thompson. Who gets the net full time now that Leonard is healthy? It's Leonard, and it's not even an argument. I don't even think it's going to be close. I think that fans go a little overboard on an 11-game stretch or 8-game or whatever it's been that Thompson's in there. They paid $5 million for Robin Leonard. He's been the starter the entirety of the time he's been here, including the time when they had Marc-Andre Fleury. He is the guy. They hitched their wagon to this player, to this goalie. He's the guy. He's going to be in there if he is healthy. If we make the playoffs, do you think we're in for a first-round exit? I think it depends on how they get in. If they get in the Pacific, no, I think they would beat Edmonton or LA. If they get in as the wild card, yes, I don't think they're beating Calgary or Colorado. So that's kind of what I would say there. What will repair the bottom six to get some production other than healthy starters? Not a lot. There's just no depth in the organization. Like, that's just what it is. Now, I understand they're missing like 9 starters. It's not exactly fair to say that. I don't think they have an elite bottom 6 anyway. I think if they were to be playing $92, $93 million, 11, 12 over the cap, okay, it looks a little bit better. But the Kolazars and Carriers and Patricks and Howdens and all of this group that a lot of them are missing, I don't think it makes a huge difference having some of those players compared to some of the other guys that are in there. Like Amadio has been just as good as all those guys that I've mentioned, and they picked that guy off a waiver. So I think basically you just have to hope that somebody starts playing above their head. I don't necessarily know that that's going to happen. We will see. What else do we have here? Leonard looking slow laterally. I would kind of disagree. I thought he looked kind of much like himself laterally today. I felt like that's what he looks like. He stops the ones, he comes out. He challenged a couple of chances really far out. The one on Besser late, I thought was a big one. I thought he was fine. I didn't think he was great. I didn't think he was bad today. I thought he was fine. Any more updates on injured players? So no. They didn't really hold a practice the entire time that it was in Seattle. It was a morning skate, but it was, I didn't get to that one. So we haven't got a lot of injury updates. They are coming home now, so I would imagine we hopefully will get some over the next couple of days. I don't know what it's going to look like, and I don't know what you're actually going to get out of some of these guys that are going to come back. Like, what's Pacioretty going to be? What's Stone going to be? What's Smith going to be? I'm not sure what it's going to look like. And you do have now 3 more games here that are easy games that you can find a way to get through these. But then after that, it ramps up. And I think like the issue I'm having is I'm seeing the other teams winning. And a lot of these, it's like, damn, this is where the Golden Knights were supposed to be making up the ground. This is the moment where if they were going to play 700 hockey, this is where they were going to get their wins. They're doing that and not making up ground. It's frustrating to see, and it would be real frustrating if this thing ends at 98 and the Golden Knights miss out on a team that gets 99. That would be very annoying. Does Thompson get sent back to Henderson when Brossoit is healthy? I don't think Brossoit is going to get healthy. That would be my guess. I think they'll find a way to make him not healthy the rest of the season. And it's 3-4 weeks. I don't think that they would actually send Thompson back. Now, if they do, they would have to send Thompson back. But there's no roster limits. You could keep the third goalie, even if he is healthy. Brossoit's not an LTIR. So, it gets tricky if they do come completely off of LTIR. It doesn't look like that's going to happen either. That's another part that I didn't mention on the injuries. They can't all get healthy. Like, it doesn't work that way. They're way over the cap. They can only get fully healthy if they were to make the playoffs, and we'll see if that ends up happening. I think that's it. So thanks again to Conlon Associates CPAs for sponsoring all the Periscopes. Take the 2 points, take the win, and try to keep going. 5 in a row, 4 against terrible teams. Take them all. You get 3 more against terrible teams coming up. Take them all. If you get an 8 in a row stretch, they're probably going to start to make up some of these points. Oh, this is a good point from Chris as well. With less than 10 games, no one else can go on. You can't actually put someone on LTIR in the last 10 games unless it retroactively goes before. So any new injuries would not be allowed to go on LTIR. I'm not even sure if that's what Chris is saying, but that is truth. Thanks again, Conlon Associates CPAs. Check them out. Tell them SinBin sent you. We'll get you a free consultation. Let them do your taxes. Don't do them yourselves. Goalie interference coming up on Wednesday. Looks like we'll be on a nice little winning streak, or at least something close when we get to that. So it could be a positive episode, which is rare, or at least has been rare over the last couple of weeks. See ya.